I still remember the sound. It was a chair scraping hard against the floor, loud enough to cut through the class noise. Everyone went quiet. Even the fan above us seemed to slow down. The boy did not cry. That was the strange part. He just stood there, frozen, staring at the teacher's desk like he had done something very wrong and was waiting for the world to end. I was 13 then. We were in junior secondary school, class 2. The walls had cracks that ran like thin lines across faded paint. Outside, you could hear other classes shouting answers in unison. The boy's name was Daniel. He sat 2 rows in front of me. He was small for his age, thin arms, big eyes. He wore the same uniform almost every day. The shirt was always clean, but it was old, too old. Teachers did not like him. They said he was slow. They said he did not pay attention. They said he was stubborn. Some said worse things. When Daniel flinched at sudden movements, they laughed and said he was pretending. Students copied the teachers. They mocked him. They hid his books. They called him Moo and Blockhead. I did not join them, but I did not stop them either. That day, the math teacher was angry. He had given Daniel a simple question on the board. Daniel stood there for a long time, chalk in hand, not writing anything. The teacher shouted,
Daniel, what is the answer?
"Are you stupid? Write something." The classroom door opened. Mrs. Adebayo walked in. She was not our math teacher. She taught English and literature. She was tall and thin with a calm face and sharp eyes. Her voice was soft, but when she spoke, people listened. She looked at the teacher. Then she looked at Daniel. "Please," she said quietly, "leave him." The math teacher laughed. "This boy," he said, "he wastes everyone's time." Mrs. Adebayo walked to Daniel. She picked up the broken chalk and placed it on the desk. "Daniel," she said, "go and sit down." The math teacher shook his head and continued the lesson. Mrs. Adebayo stayed at the back of the class, standing. She did not leave until the bell rang. I noticed something then. Daniel was breathing very fast. His hands were clenched under the desk, and Mrs. Adebayo was watching him the whole time. After that day, things changed. Not loudly, not at all at once. Small things. Mrs. Adebayo started calling Daniel's name during her lessons, but not to embarrass him. She asked him easy questions, questions he could answer. When he did, she nodded. Sometimes she smiled. One afternoon, I stayed behind to return a book. I saw Daniel standing outside the staff room. He looked scared. His bag was clutched to his chest. Mrs. Adebayo opened the door. "You came," she said. Daniel nodded. She did not raise her voice. She did not touch him. She just opened the door wider and let him in. I don't know why I stayed. Maybe curiosity, maybe guilt. I waited outside. They talked for a long time. When Daniel came out, his eyes were red. He wiped them quickly when he saw me. Mrs. Adebayo walked him to the gate. That became a routine. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Daniel stayed after school. Sometimes he cried, sometimes he just sat there. Sometimes he talked. People started whispering. They said Mrs. Adebayo was wasting time on a useless child. They said Daniel was pretending so teachers would pity him. They said she should focus on bright students. One teacher said it openly in the staff room. I heard it when I went to submit an assignment. She did not argue. She just said, "He needs someone." I started sitting closer to Daniel in class. I noticed things. He jumped when someone shouted. He panicked when he made mistakes. He flinched when adults raised their hands. Once, during break, a boy pushed him as a joke. Daniel fell and scraped his knee. Blood came out. He did not cry. He just stared at the blood like he was used to it. That scared me more than tears would have. The day everything broke open was a rainy day. The rain was heavy. It flooded the field. Students were locked inside classrooms during break. Daniel was late to school that day, very late. When he arrived, his shirt was torn at the collar. There was a dark mark on his arm, like a bruise trying to hide under brown skin. A teacher asked him what happened. He said he fell. Everyone accepted it. Everyone except Mrs. Adebayo. She asked him to stay back again. That day, her voice changed. It was still soft, but it was firm. "Daniel," she said, "who did this to you?" He shook his head. She waited. Minutes passed. Then he whispered, "Please don't tell." That was when she stood up. She did not shout. She did not cry. She went straight to the principal. The rest came out slowly, painfully. Daniel lived with his uncle. His parents had died years ago. The uncle drank a lot. When he drank, he beat Daniel for mistakes, for silence, for nothing. Daniel thought it was normal. He thought it was discipline. He thought he deserved it. The school called social services. They called relatives. They called the police. People argued. Some said it was family matter. Some said it was exaggeration. Some said the boy was lying. One adult said, "Children lie." Mrs. Adebayo did not argue with words. She brought evidence, photos, dates, records of injuries, Daniel's own words written slowly with shaking hands. She had been keeping notes. Every bruise, every flinch, every missed class. She had believed him before anyone else did. Daniel was taken away. For weeks, his desk was empty. The class felt strange without him, too quiet. Some students felt guilty. Some pretended not to care. Mrs. Adebayo continued teaching like normal, but she looked tired. One day, during assembly, the principal announced that Daniel was now living with his aunt in another state. He was safe. He was going to a new school. That was all. No applause, no apology, no speech, just facts. Years passed. I saw Mrs. Adebayo again years later. I was in university then, home for holidays. I ran into her at a bookshop. She remembered my name. I asked her about Daniel. She smiled. "He's doing well," she said. "He writes me sometimes." I asked her how she knew to help him. She paused. "I didn't know," she said. "I just listened. I'm older now. I work with children. Sometimes a child is quiet. Sometimes a child is angry. Sometimes a child is difficult. I think of Daniel. I think of a teacher who chose to see what others ignored. And I remember that scraping sound. The sound that almost ended a boy's hope. The sound that changed because one teacher walked in and refused to look away.